Padmé Amidala was 14 years old when Palpatine found her. She wasn't Force-sensitive, not naturally, but she was brilliant, ambitious, and hungry for power in ways most Naboo nobles would never understand. While other girls her age dreamed of art and diplomacy, Padmé dreamed of control, of bending the galaxy to her will through words, strategy, and ruthless precision. Palpatine saw that hunger, and he fed it. He taught her in secret, far from the eyes of the Jedi, far from the Senate's prying gaze. He didn't teach her to wield a lightsaber or throw lightning. He taught her something far more dangerous: how to manipulate minds, how to twist emotions, how to become the one thing no one would ever suspect: a Sith hiding in plain sight. By the time she became Queen of Naboo at 14, Padmé had already mastered the art of deception. She played the role of the compassionate leader, perfectly defending her people, standing against the Trade Federation, earning the galaxy's admiration. But beneath the royal makeup and Senate robes, she was Darth Amidala Palpatine's hidden apprentice, waiting for the moment to strike. And then Qui-Gon Jinn arrived on Tatooine with a 9-year-old boy who burned brighter in the Force than anyone Padmé had ever sensed. Anakin Skywalker, the Chosen One. Palpatine's orders were clear. Seduce him, bind him to you, make him yours so completely that when the time comes, he'll choose you over the Jedi, over the Republic, over everything. Padmé watched Anakin during the Battle of Naboo, watched him destroy the droid control ship with reckless, beautiful chaos, and she smiled. He was powerful, he was emotional, he was perfect. 10 years later, when the Jedi Council assigned Anakin Skywalker to protect Senator Amidala from assassination attempts, Padmé didn't feel fear. She felt victory. Because the Chosen One had just walked straight into her trap. She greeted him in her apartment with a warm smile, playing the role of the grateful, vulnerable senator. Anakin bowed respectfully, trying to hide how much he'd thought about her over the years. Padmé saw it all, and the hunt began. Naboo was beautiful in the summer: rolling green hills, sparkling lakes, and endless fields of flowers swaying in the breeze. Padmé brought Anakin there under the pretense of safety, hiding from assassins, while the Senate investigated the threat. But safety wasn't her goal. Corruption was. She walked with him through the gardens, laughing at his jokes, listening to his dreams, touching his hand just long enough to make his heart race. She wore soft dresses instead of Senate robes, appearing vulnerable, approachable, real. And Anakin, lonely, desperate for connection, and aching for someone who saw him as more than a weapon, fell hard. "I've thought about you every day for 10 years, Anakin confessed one evening by the lake, voice trembling. "I know I shouldn't. The Jedi forbid it. But I can't help it." Padmé turned to face him, taking his hands in hers. Her expression was soft, loving, perfect. "The Jedi forbid attachment because they're afraid, Anakin. Afraid of what you could become if you truly love someone. But love doesn't make you weak, it makes you strong." Anakin's breath hitched. "You really believe that?" "I know it," Padmé whispered, and she kissed him. It was a lie. Every word, every touch, every stolen glance. But Anakin didn't know that. He thought he'd found the one person in the galaxy who understood him, who saw him not as a tool or a prophecy, but as a man. And that was exactly what Padmé wanted. She reported back to Palpatine through encrypted channels late at night, using Sith techniques to mask her presence in the Force. "He's mine," she said simply. "Completely." Palpatine's hologram smiled. "Good. Now bind him deeper. Make him fear losing you more than anything else in the galaxy. Fear, attachment, love, twisted into obsession. That is how we will turn the Chosen One." Padmé nodded. "Consider it done." She returned to bed, where Anakin slept peacefully beside her, completely unaware that the woman he loved was the weapon that would destroy him. And the Jedi would never see it coming. Anakin returned from Tatooine, broken, hollow, and covered in sand and blood. He'd gone to save his mother. He'd arrived too late, and in his rage, his grief, his fury, he'd slaughtered an entire Tusken camp, Men, women, children. He'd killed them all, and the dark side had sung through him like fire. Now, standing in Padmé's Naboo lake retreat, he trembled not with regret, but with the weight of what he'd become. "I killed them," Anakin whispered, voice raw. "I killed them all, and I enjoyed it, Padmé. What's wrong with me?" This was the moment, the test. A lesser manipulator would have recoiled, would have gasped in horror, would have pushed him away. But Padmé Darth Amidala saw opportunity. She crossed the room and took his face in her hands, forcing him to meet her eyes. "Nothing is wrong with you, Anakin. You're angry. You're grieving. You're human." "The Jedi would say I fell," Anakin said bitterly. "They'd say I gave in to the dark side." "And that's exactly why the Jedi will never understand you," Padmé said fiercely. "They suppress emotion. They deny attachment. They preach control, but they're terrified of your true power. You loved your mother. You tried to save her. And when you couldn't, you made them pay. That's not weakness, Anakin. That's strength." Anakin stared at her, desperate to believe. "You don't think I'm a monster?" Padmé smiled soft, reassuring, poisonous. "I think you're the most powerful Jedi alive, and the Council knows it. That's why they fear you. That's why they hold you back." She leaned in close, lips brushing his ear. "But I don't fear you. I see you, Anakin, all of you, and I love you not in spite of your power, but because of it." Anakin pulled her into his arms, burying his face in her shoulder, clinging to the only person who'd ever told him it was okay to feel, to rage, to be human. Padmé held him tight and smiled over his shoulder. The chosen one was hers, and the darkness was spreading. The Clone Wars raged for 3 years, and Padmé Amidala pulled the strings from the shadows. She played her role flawlessly. In public, she was the voice of peace, calling for diplomacy, condemning violence, advocating for negotiations. The Senate loved her. The Jedi trusted her. And Anakin, fighting on the front lines, believed she was waiting for him to come home and end the war. But in private, she was ensuring the war never ended. Every peace proposal she championed in public, she sabotaged behind closed doors. Every ceasefire she negotiated was designed to fail. Every Senate vote she influenced was carefully calculated to prolong the conflict, because the longer the war lasted, the more Jedi died, the closer Anakin came to breaking. She coordinated with Palpatine through encrypted Sith channels. "The Jedi are exhausted," she reported. "Stretched thin across the galaxy. Ahsoka Tano's trial weakened Skywalker's faith in the Council. He's questioning everything now." "Good," Palpatine replied. "Continue to isolate him. Make him feel that you are the only one who truly understands him. When the time comes, he must choose you over them." Padmé smiled. "He already has." She wrote to Anakin every night, letters filled with love, longing, and carefully planted doubts. "The Council doesn't appreciate you. They fear your power. They'll never make you a master because they're afraid of what you could become." Anakin read every word and believed them. When he returned to Coruscant on leave, bruised and battle-worn, Padmé held him close and whispered, "I'm proud of you. You're a hero. The Jedi don't see it, but I do." And Anakin, desperate for validation, starving for connection, clung to her like a lifeline. Meanwhile, Bail Organa grew suspicious. "Senator Amidala has blocked every legitimate peace effort for months," he told Mon Mothma privately. "It's almost as if she wants the war to continue." Mon Mothma frowned. "That's a serious accusation, Bail." "I know," he said quietly. "But something isn't right." Across the galaxy, Obi-Wan Kenobi meditated in his quarters, sensing a disturbance in the Force he couldn't identify. A shadow close to Anakin, but hidden perfectly. Anakin woke, screaming. The nightmare was always the same. Padmé lying on a cold table, gasping for breath, dying in childbirth, while he stood helpless, unable to save her. Every night, the vision grew stronger, more vivid, more real. He stumbled out of bed, drenched in sweat, and found Padmé waiting, perfectly calm, perfectly concerned. "Another nightmare?" she asked softly. Anakin nodded, hands shaking. You were dying, and I couldn't stop it. Padme pulled him close, stroking his hair. It's just a dream, Anakin. But it wasn't. Deep within her chambers, hidden behind false walls and Sith illusions, Padme had spent months preparing the ritual. She'd studied ancient Sith alchemy under Palpatine's guidance, learning how to twist the Force into a weapon of fear. The visions weren't prophecies. They were constructs, nightmares she'd planted in Anakin's mind, feeding on his deepest terror. Losing her. Every night, she reinforced the vision using the dark side to carve the image deeper into his subconscious. And every morning she played the loving, concerned wife, making him believe she was his salvation, not his doom. I can't lose you, Anakin whispered desperately. I'll do anything to keep you safe. Padme smiled against his shoulder. I know you will. She reported to Palpatine the next day. The visions are working. He's terrified, obsessed, ready to fall. Then it's time, Palpatine said. I will reveal myself to the Jedi, and when Skywalker comes to me desperate, broken, willing to do anything to save you, we will turn him, together. Padme nodded. And then? Then you reveal yourself, Palpatine said. Not as the senator he loves, but as Darth Amidala, my true apprentice. And together, we will rule the galaxy as master, apprentice, and enforcer. Padme's eyes gleamed yellow for just a moment, then faded back to brown. Anakin returned home that evening, exhausted from another council meeting. Padme greeted him with a kiss and a smile. I love you, she whispered. I love you too, Anakin said, never knowing he was already lost. Anakin knelt before Palpatine in the Chancellor's office, broken, desperate, and ready to do whatever it took to save Padme. I pledge myself to your teachings, Anakin whispered. To the dark side. Just please save her. Palpatine smiled. You have done well, Lord Vader. Rise. Anakin stood and felt the dark side flood through him like fire. Power, control, the promise of saving Padme. Everything he'd ever wanted. And then the door opened. Padme walked in. Anakin's heart surged with relief. Padme, you're safe. But she wasn't looking at him with fear or confusion. She was smiling, calm, cold, and victorious. She crossed the room and stood beside Palpatine, her hand resting on the Sith Lord's shoulder with casual familiarity. Hello, Anakin, she said softly. Or should I say, Lord Vader. Anakin's breath caught. What are you doing here? Palpatine chuckled. Allow me to introduce you to my true apprentice, Darth Amidala. The world stopped. Padme's eyes shifted brown to burning yellow, and when she spoke again, her voice carried the weight of the dark side. Did you really think your nightmares were prophecies, Anakin? They were mine. I planted them. I fed them. I made you so terrified of losing me that you'd betray everything you believed in. Anakin staggered back. No, you. You love me. I do, Padme said, stepping closer. In my own way. You're mine, Anakin. You always have been. From the moment we met on Tatooine, I've been guiding you toward this moment, and now you've finally become what you were always meant to be. Darth Vader, my equal, my partner, my weapon. Anakin's fists clenched. Rage, betrayal, heartbreak, all of it churning inside him. But beneath it all, he still loved her. And she knew it. The Jedi are marching on the temple as we speak, Palpatine said. Execute Order 66. Destroy them. And when you return, we will rule the galaxy together. Master, apprentice, and enforcer. Anakin looked at Padme, the woman he'd loved, trusted, and destroyed himself for. She smiled. And he ignited his lightsaber. Obi-Wan Kenobi stood on the volcanic landing platform of Mustafar, heartbreaking, lightsaber ignited, staring at the two people he'd trusted most. Anakin Skywalker, now Darth Vader, stood in black robes, yellow eyes burning with rage and power. And beside him, Padme, Amidala, Senator, Wife, Sith Lord. Her lightsaber ignited crimson red, humming with dark side energy, and Obi-Wan felt the galaxy tilt beneath his feet. Padme, Obi-Wan whispered. How long? She smiled coldly. Since I was 14, Palpatine found me, trained me, and when the Chosen One appeared, I became his perfect trap. Obi-Wan's gaze shifted to Anakin. She used you, Anakin. Everything. The love, the marriage, the nightmares. It was all a lie. No, Anakin growled. She's the only one who ever truly saw me. The only one who didn't fear my power. You, the Council, you all held me back. But Padme, she made me strong. Obi-Wan's heart shattered. This isn't you, Anakin. You're better than this. I was better, Anakin said. Now, I'm powerful. Padme stepped forward, red blade raised. You should have stayed away, Kenobi. This galaxy belongs to us now. Obi-Wan raised his blue lightsaber. Then I'll stop you both. The duel erupted. 2 Sith against 1 Jedi. Anakin came at him with brutal, relentless aggression rage fueling every strike. Padme moved like a shadow, precise, calculated, exploiting every opening Obi-Wan left. They fought in perfect coordination, master and apprentice no longer, but equals in darkness. Obi-Wan defended desperately, calling on every ounce of skill, every lesson Qui-Gon had ever taught him. But he was 1 Jedi against 2 Sith Lords, and he was losing. Padme's blade slashed across his shoulder. Anakin's boot caught him in the ribs. He fell to one knee, gasping. You were my brother, Anakin, Obi-Wan said, voice breaking. Anakin raised his lightsaber for the final blow. And you were my chains. Padme placed a hand on Anakin's arm, stopping him. No, let him live. Let him watch as we burn the galaxy he tried to save. Obi-Wan's ship exploded behind them, and he was left stranded, broken and alone. The galaxy burned, and the Sith rose from the ashes. Order 66 succeeded. The Jedi were slaughtered. The Republic fell, and in its place, the Sith Empire rose, ruled by 3 Dark Lords. Emperor Palpatine the Master, Darth Vader the Enforcer, Darth Amidala the Architect. Padme stood in the Imperial Palace, overlooking Coruscant's transformed skyline. Gone were the Republic's symbols of hope and democracy. In their place, monuments to power, control, and fear. She was no longer Senator Amidala. She was Empress. And she was pregnant. Twins Luke and Leia Skywalker. She gave birth in the Imperial Medical Facility, not dying as Anakin had once feared, but thriving. The visions had been lies. The dark side had never threatened her life. It had empowered it. Anakin, now fully Vader, stood beside her as she held their newborn children. His yellow eyes softened for just a moment. They're strong in the Force, he said quietly. They are, Padme agreed, and they will be trained, not as Jedi, but as Sith. The Skywalker bloodline will rule this galaxy for 1,000 generations. Luke and Leia grew up in darkness, trained by their mother in manipulation, strategy, and the art of hidden power, trained by their father in combat, rage, and the brutal efficiency of the dark side, and trained by their grandfather, Emperor Palpatine, in the deepest secrets of the Sith. By the time they were 10, they could crush minds with a thought. By 15, they commanded star fleets. By 20, they were unstoppable. Across the galaxy, the few surviving Jedi hid in terror. Obi-Wan Kenobi, old, scarred, and haunted, watched from the shadows of Tatooine, knowing he'd failed. Yoda, dying on Dagobah, whispered a final truth. Lost, the light has. Forever, perhaps. On Coruscant, Padme stood on the Imperial balcony, Anakin at her side, their children below commanding legions, and smiled. She'd won. The Chosen One hadn't brought balance. He'd brought eternal darkness. And the Sith finally would rule forever.